A very important essay for a thinker to read is John Stuart Mill's essay on liberty, particularly the second chapter on thought and discussion. Mill says, of everything respectable in man, either as an intellectual or as a moral being, namely that his errors are corrigible, he is capable of rectifying his mistakes by discussion and experience. Not by experience alone, there must be discussion to show how experience is to be interpreted. Wrong opinions and practices gradually yield to fact and argument, but facts and arguments to produce any effect on the mind must be brought before it. Here Mill is simply talking about the fact that it is crucial that we allow there to be dissent from our own views and our own opinions. That it's important for us as thinkers to be challenged in our thought. If we are concerned with being quality thinkers, then we should not merely be engaged in the act of producing thought, but we should actively be seeking out an opposition and a contrary position to that thought. We should welcome challenge. We should be open to challenge. A good thinker seeks out opposition actively all the time. To be a good thinker, this is a necessary requirement of thought. If we don't seek out opposition, if we don't allow resistance to come in contradiction to our view, to come against it in opposition to our view, then we could be engaging in error and not even know it. We could be deceiving ourselves. We could have a very shallow opinion that has formed that we think to be mighty and strong and substantive, and the reality is, because we have not allowed refutation to enter in the domain of the context of our belief, we do not have the understanding that our belief falls, that it gets refuted, that it breaks apart, that it was not as strong as we thought it to be. If a man builds a house and he thinks it's substantive, but no storm has blown against it, it's faced no adversity, and a storm comes and blows it down, he has not made a substantive house. The same is true with thought. And when we allow opposition to come our way, when we actively seek it out, what we're really doing is strengthening our thought. What we're really doing is expanding our thought. What we're really doing is learning. If we don't engage in this act of allowing opposition into our thought, of actively seeking out, that is the wise thing to do. If a thinker is serious, if they want to be a good thinker has to actively seek out opposition. I am always trying to think this way as a thinker. What is it that contradicts my thought? And what does this do? It makes us insecure. It makes us second guess ourselves, because we see that the situation is not as straightforward as our original formation of it made it out to be. And so we learn that it takes more time, more deliberation, more resistance before we can know whether or not something is true. The admonition to all of us, as John Stuart Mill says, wrong opinions and practices gradually yield to fact and argument, but facts and arguments to produce any effect on the mind must be brought before it. If we censor that, if we push away opinions that we disagree with because we don't like the way they make us feel, or because they contradict what we believe, then we are going to be engaged in a system of delusion. We are going to be engaged in believing in false beliefs that end up derailing our lives, or disordering our lives. The admonition to all of us is not merely to welcome dissent into our lives, but to actively seek out opposition so that we can thereby strengthen and shore up our belief and to guard ourselves from falling into error.